If you have ever wondered how architects create floor plans and you want to create your own one for the first time, make sure to watch the video step by step because I'm going to show you how to do just that even if you have no prior experience. So we're going to do that here in Rayon. Rayon is a software which is available on the web, so you don't need a fancy computer and you can use it through iPad, laptop, PC, whatever you use. So it is super simple and affordable and accessible for all of you. So first of all, let's say that you have some sort of measurements or a hand sketch, or even if you don't, just follow along because I'm going to show you the whole process. First of all, I'm going to drag and drop this hand drawing off a floor plan. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is in the correct scale. This means that, for example, let's say the door here is 90 centimeters in real life. I want to make sure that it is 90 centimeters in the drawing as well, just so everything is in the right scale. In order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and choose this line tool right here. I'm going to click once in the beginning of the door, and then I'm going to type in 0.9 meters. I'm going to click enter, and this basically shows us how big this door should be for the actual floor plan to be in the right scale. So let's select the actual floor plan here. Let's go here at scale. We can click once at the starting point, another time where it's ending in the drawing, and then another time where it should be, and this will increase it in size and it will look like in the correct scale. So now let's go at the wall tool. So the wall tool is available for you here at the bottom point. You can either click on it or you can use the W key and then click enter, and then you can click once on this corner. As you can see, this is a lot thinner than it needs to be, but I'm going to show you how to edit all of these. And it is also in the wrong alignment. So it is coming from the bottom part of where our line is in terms of the cursor. So let's do it in the opposite side and let's type in 0.4 meters. And this should be the correct size, just like this. As you can see, this is correct. So now we can draw and we can go along all of this one by one. Let's just ignore the porch for now. We are going to go ahead and draw that later on. And now we have the exterior walls. So what we will do next, in order to have everything a lot more organized, we are going to go here at the layers. We're going to add a new set of layer, and then I'm going to type in exterior wall. And then I'm going to go ahead and select these walls. And then let's go on the active tag. Let's move the walls from the tag here to this one right here. So what this does is that we can easily, for example, turn off all of the exterior walls. So we can turn these off or on, as you can see. Very easy. And then also we can choose the actual floor plan. And what I would want to do is that if by any case we go ahead and choose this accidentally or select it, I'd rather just go over here and then lock it. And now this is not selectable unless we unlock it on the layers tab right there. So now we can go ahead and also draw the interior walls. Let's choose the wall right here, and then let's do 0.2. Let's go over here. Let's draw once over there. That is where the wall finishes. Let's go another time for the wall right here. Let's end it over on the other end of the wall. Let's use the other drawing tool over here. Let's use the alignment on the other side. So these would be the interior walls. And by the way, I'm going to show you later on how we can stylize them and make them look exactly the way we want them. And then this would be the other side of the wall. We can end it just like this. We can press done. Let's select this wall and then let's just take it a bit over to the other side. So something like this. Cool. So now we have the interior walls as well. Let's go here at layers. Let's add a new layer group. Let's type in interior wall. So now what we can do is let's just choose this, and all of the interior walls that we just drew right now. And then from the default layers tab, we can just move them into the interior wall layers tab. And that is quite easy, as you can see. Now what we can do next is that we're going to go ahead and add the openings, the doors first, and then we will add the windows, and I'm going to show you how we can do just that. So over here you can see an opening icon which looks like a door, so we can click here once. Let's go to libraries, and then we can go over here at opening, doors, and arcs. So we can just go just a little bit downwards. For example, this is a European door. We can just click on this, we can click select, and now this is selected and easy for us to implement on the floor plans. For example, we can click once in terms of the placement of the wall, and then we can also align it whichever way we want it just by hovering the mouse on that side. So this would be one, and then we can do another click. We can basically just scale it upwards to be the correct size as it shows on the drawing that we have here as a reference. Then what we can do is we can click on it, and then we can hold the Alt key and we can drag and drop it. So for example, you can drag and drop it right on this wall. We can also mirror it or put it on the other side, something like this, for example. And then maybe even for something like this, it is very easily optimized and manually configured for our drawing. So then this would be this one. And then we also have one final door here for the porch. Let's go for the other side. Let's put this right here. Let's go over here and then let's increase the size just like this. Okay, cool. So now what we can do is we can go to the exterior walls. Let's select all of the exterior walls. Let's also turn down the opacity on fill. And now let's add the windows. So in terms of the windows, we can go back to the openings. Let's go here at the active block and then let's just type in the library's window. So let's just type in window and then we can choose, for example, this one. Let's select it and then let's just add it right here. We can just go ahead, keep it over on this side. We can also increase it in size just a tiny bit. And then with the Alt key, while dragging and dropping it downwards, you can see how easily we can copy it. So now we have these double windows here. And we can do the same thing over here on this wall. So we can drag and drop it with the Alt key. So let's just use it right here. So one of them could be there. And then let's select this one and then we can just put it right here. So now we have double windows there, double windows here, and then we can add just one more window on this side. Then we can copy that one. We can place it right over here. So let's just make this a little bit smaller. Okay, cool. So now we have added the doors, we have added the windows. What we can do as well is we can add a new layer for doors, and then we can just pretty much select them real quick. So all three of them, and then let's just add them in the doors right here. Let's go to window, and then let's select all of these windows right here. And then let's drag and drop them on the Windows tag as well. Cool. Okay, so what is next here? What we can do as well, we can just also go back to the exterior walls. Just one last thing with the walls here. Let's just draw these for the porch as well. And then I think for the walls, this should be pretty much it. We can select them. Let's move this to the exterior wall tag. Cool, so now we have the exterior walls as well. So now what we can do is we can also add in furniture. And the very cool thing about Rayon and why it makes it easier than drawing a floor plan anywhere else is that you do not have to draw manually everything. So for example, if you go to libraries inside the blocks here, we can very easily type in, for example, triple couch. And then in just a second, you will see that we have, for example, a sofa, which is simple and it is triple. And as you can see, this would fit very easily with what we have here. We can just increase it in size and scale it upwards just like that. Then we can add a TV over here on this side. So for example, we can just choose the stand and then we can rotate it for, I don't know, something like this. We can also increase this in size a tiny bit for something like this. Then we can go ahead and go for the closet here. So let's try and find something that would fit over on this side, or maybe even wardrobe. We can type in wardrobe. And I think this would work well. Let's just put it right there. Let's increase this in size. So something like this. And then we can also add a table just like we have it over here. Let's just make sure this is aligned. If we zoom in closer, you can see that you can be a lot more precise. We can do a desk. So we can just type in desk. This is too big. We can choose, let's just see. I guess we can choose this one. We can place it over here. We can also rotate it just like this. And then let's increase it in size. So basically it's pretty much like what we have on the screen. We can also use the rectangle to just close this off for now. And then what we can do is we can go basically draw another rectangle manually here at the shapes. We can use the rectangle. We can draw this as a table. And then we can also use dining chairs as a block. So let's just add these two over here because I don't know, this is weird and it seems like it's blocking the opening. So we can add this one. Let's increase it in size a little bit. With the Alt key, we can copy it on the other side. And if you want to make it a bit more realistic, you would just rotate it a little bit so they're not perfectly parallel to each other, and it just makes it look a bit more natural. So then these are some of the pieces of the furniture. What we can do as well, we can select these two and add a white fill to them for now. I'm going to show you how we can use that area in just a second. No need to worry about that. And then next up, what we can do is we can go back to our rectangle tool. We can draw a rectangle from this corner all the way to over here. We can go and type in cooktop. And then we can basically drag and drop this over here. So something like this would be fine. And then we can add a sink. So for example, we can use this double sink. And then we can rotate it over here. I'll just make this a little bit larger. And then cool. So then we just need to go ahead and type in the fridge, which is on this corner. So we can just go ahead and then rotate it over here and then just make it a little bit larger. All right. So we have added the pieces of furniture over here. We would basically very easily could add the carpet over here as well. So let's just type in rug or maybe carpet. Okay, cool. So we can just add a carpet right here. Let's rotate it and let's just make it a bit smaller. And then on top of it, we can add a round table. So I don't know, maybe this one, I'm not sure how big this is, but it seems fine just like that. All right, and then next up, what we can do, I think this area is pretty much done. One piece of vegetation there, but that isn't too big of a deal. What we can do here, we can go ahead and add a bathtub. Now we can get done with the bathroom. So for example, we can add this one. Let's drag and drop it over here. Let's rotate it. This needs to be just a tiny bit larger. And then we can type in basin. And then we can choose maybe this round one as well. We can just place it right here. Maybe we can make it a bit larger if you wanted to. Cool. And then we can go ahead and also add a toilet real quick. So all of this, as you can see, once again, very easy, drag and drop, and not a lot of work for us to get right. So this is basically some of the main steps you can draw a floor plan. However, I'm going to show you how we can stylize this and make it look a lot more readable and easier for everyone to understand what you have put right here. So first of all, what I will do is that I will show you how we can stylize everything. Before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and add the tags here and at the screenshot. So the one that we locked earlier, we can unlock it and then I can hide it. That way we don't have anything else visible that will take the attention away. One more thing that we can do as well is that we can add a layer beforehand, and this layer would be called zones. And this is where we can name every single area. And on top of that, we can also basically add hatches and stylize the flooring. So for example, if I add this over here, what we can do is we can go ahead and use a zone. So this would be one zone, but then we can also go inside and edit it. So this would be our living room, and we can rename it right here in the right side in the properties. And I'm going to show you later on how we can also change the size of it, the style of it. And as you can see, it also shows the size in terms of square meters. It does that even in square feet if that's what you use. And then next up, let's go to zones once again. And then for the zones again, what we'll do is we will use a loop. So we'll click once over here. This will be our second zone. So we can just do something like this real quick. This would be the entry. We can click done, and we can go ahead and change this name to entry. Then for the bathroom, we can just click once. So now we can go ahead and name this bathroom. Let's click outside, and we can do the same thing for the kitchen. So for example, we can click once on the starting point, another time over here, another time over here, another time on the other corner. Let's close this off and then done. We can double click. Let's just add this right here. Let's just add this right here. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. And then the final one would be the covered porch. And then we are going to go ahead and rename it. All right, cool. So now we have all of the different zones. So let's go over here. Let's change this hatch to a parquet hatch. So this would be a wood flooring. So let's just choose this one. Then what we can do is we can also stylize this. So we can save this as a new style, and then we can add a background. For example, this background can be some sort of light brown. And then also the stroke, we can make it grayish. So next up, let's just also change the size of this text. We can type in 0.25. Then let's just choose this. Let's just make this a dark gray. And then we can do the same thing for these ones in terms of textures. We have saved this as a style, so now we don't have to edit these one by one. We can basically go ahead and we can click replace all with this recent style, and these will be done. Now, just in terms of the text size, we can go ahead and do it 0.25, and then this would be it for these. And then obviously for the bathroom and the covered porch, we would need to add a different type of hatching here, which is very easy to do. This would be a tile hatching, and then we can basically just make this a lot softer in terms of the gray background, and then the stroke, I would want it a lot softer as well. And this is how we can stylize this whole, I guess, floor plan. So it went from a hand drawing, so it went from this to actually something in CAD, which is very easy for you to edit, share it with any one of the stakeholders of your new project or whatever you need. One thing that I would do is that this line over here at the doors, I just want to make it a bit thicker because it's just way too thin right now. And then we could probably just make the stroke a bit darker, and then we can leave. So this would be done. And this is a few things on how we can edit it. And now in order to stylize this even further, we can go ahead and select all of the walls real quick. You could probably even do that by the tags on the left-hand side, but I'll just do this since it's right in front of me. And then I'm gonna go ahead and all of these, I'm gonna make them this dark gray. But obviously the reason why these look different is because I have lowered the opacity on this one. And then this also needs to be the same color. This might be a bit too dark. What I can do once again is I can go inside the tags here for the interior walls. I can select all of them. Let's make this a bit softer. So something like this, C5, C5, C5. And then let's go for the exterior walls as well. We just choose all of them and then all of these. Okay, so now that we have the floor plan, I can also show you how we can go ahead and add dimensions. So for example, we can go ahead and add a dimension from over here to over here, and then this would be one line. We can also add continuous dimensions, so we can just choose this one as chained, and then this will not stop. So this would be one dimension, this would be one dimension, and then this would be another one. And then when you would be done, we can click done, and this would be much easier for all the stakeholders to communicate and find everything. Obviously, you can tune this as well in terms of size, so we can change the text size as well. So for example, we can go 0.5, that is way too big. Let's go for 0.25. I think that is a bit better. We can also change the way that these arrows looks. For example, it can be something like this. And then we can make this bigger. So for example, 0.08. And as you can see, this is how we can stylize them. We can also make, for example, the text a red, and then we can make the stroke something a bit lighter if you wanted to. And this is how we would add all dimensions. If you want to stylize this even further, we can also add, for example, a shadow. So in order to add a shadow, we can just go at some sort of angle and draw something just like this. We can go downwards. Let's close this off over here on this corner, on this corner, on this corner, and then let's just done. Okay, perfect. And then in solid, let's just choose something like this. Let's lower the opacity. The stroke, we can just take this off. And in terms of this path, we can just put it all the way in the back. That way it really does look like a shadow. So we can just leave it at something like this for now, for some extra style points. And maybe just to be even a bit more detailed, we can add 2 more points on this path, and then we can add them right on this corner. So one more thing that I want to show you about Rayon is that you can also share your file with other people. You can just type in their email and then you can invite them, and then multiple people can work on the same file at the same time, which makes collaboration a lot easier. And then you can also leave comments. So for example, something like this, you can tell them, can you please change the flooring or whatever, and then all of these comments will be visible, and then you can also resolve them and they will be taken off the floor plan. Also, this is very easily exported into a PDF, PNG, SVG, whatever other type of file format you need, and then you can also publish it as a presentation for anyone to view it from any device. So for example, if you click open right here, you can see in just a second that we can view the floor plan. It looks clear. I think it looks nice. It is soft for the eyes and it does get the job done very quickly. So this is a quick tutorial. If you want to go ahead and watch a more detailed one on how you can draw your first floor plan, go ahead and watch the video right here.